Ford's latest pricing strategy is shaking up the entire truck market. Ford, the company that's practically synonymous with trucks, has just made a surprising move, raising prices across their entire 2024 truck lineup. We're talking about everything from the iconic F-150, a staple in American garages for decades, to the more budget-friendly Maverick. And here's the twist. These price hikes are happening at a time when truck sales are actually down, and Ford's beloved trucks are gathering dust on dealership lots. Let's put some numbers on this. Sales for the F-Series trucks have dropped by 8% just in the first half of 2024 compared to last year. Now, for most companies, that would be a major red flag. The F-Series has been America's best-selling truck for over 4 decades, the kind of vehicle people often buy for life. But now, people are holding back, and sales are plummeting. Yet Ford's response is to increase prices. It's a bold and risky move, especially in a market that's already volatile. So what's Ford thinking? Well, they seem to be betting big on their brand loyalty, assuming that people will be willing to pay a premium, because after all, it's an American icon. They're hoping that a dedicated base of Ford fans will step up and pay those higher prices, keeping the company afloat. But with the way the economy is right now, it's hard to see how this plan will play out. People everywhere are dealing with rising costs, and let's be real. When you're struggling with inflation and watching prices go up for everything from groceries to gas, splurging on a new truck doesn't exactly feel like a priority. This has left Ford in a bit of a bind. Will customers stay loyal and keep buying these pricey trucks, or will they start looking elsewhere for a better deal? The auto industry is already a battleground, and this price hike might just drive customers into the arms of competitors. Interest rates and the true cost of buying a truck. Now imagine you've been saving up to buy that shiny new F-150. You've got the color picked out, maybe that powerful V8 engine you've always wanted, and you're ready to make it yours. But when you finally sit down at the dealership, the numbers just don't add up. Interest rates have shot up, and suddenly, your monthly payments are looking scarier than a horror movie marathon. So what's going on with these interest rates? Well, the Federal Reserve has been busy. Over the past year, they've been steadily increasing rates to combat inflation. And by December 2023, those rates were at levels we hadn't seen in over a decade. The latest quarter-point increase might not sound like much, but in the world of auto loans, it's a game changer. Just to put it into perspective, the difference between a 3% interest rate and a 6% interest rate on a $50,000 truck loan can mean hundreds more in monthly payments. That's the kind of increase that makes people think twice. But here's where things get interesting. Research from the University of Washington shows that people tend to overestimate the impact of these interest rate hikes. It's like seeing a spider and suddenly thinking your house is infested with tarantulas. We overreact, and that overreaction leads to hesitation. People are feeling that pinch and second-guessing big purchases, and nowhere is that more obvious than in the truck market. Now Ford is facing a dilemma. Interest rates are high, consumer confidence is low, and sales are dropping. For a brand that's relied on consistent sales of its trucks for decades, this is uncharted territory. But there's more to the story. Let's dive into part 2, where we explore how Ford's pricing shift is part of a larger trend affecting the entire truck market, and why it's not just Ford that's feeling the pain. Part 2. The industry-wide impact and competitors' struggles. Ford's pricing ripple effect across the truck market. Now let's zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture. Because what's happening with Ford isn't just an isolated incident. The entire truck market is feeling the effects of shifting consumer behavior and economic changes. Ford's price hike is just one part of the puzzle, and other major players in the truck market, like Ram and Nissan, are dealing with some tough numbers themselves. Ram, for example, is seeing a massive 20% drop in sales in 2024. They went from selling 223,000 units in the first half of 2023 to under 180,000 this year. That's a huge hit, especially for a brand that's been climbing the ranks in recent years. Then there's Nissan, whose Titan model is down by over 22% in sales. These aren't small dips. These are significant declines that are making every automaker sit up and take notice. So why are truck sales dropping across the board? Part of it is the end of the pandemic spending spree. Just a year ago, people were splurging, buying up vehicles, home improvements, and anything to make life a little better while they were stuck at home. But now, things have changed. In 2023, consumer spending on big purchases dropped by 28%. People are scaling back, looking to save where they can, and big purchases like trucks are often the first things to go. And that drop in demand isn't just affecting sales, it's impacting the entire production chain. With less demand, automakers have had to adjust, slowing down production and even idling factories. It's an industry-wide slowdown, and Ford's price hikes are just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, some analysts are starting to wonder if we're entering a period of long-term reduced demand for trucks, which would have huge implications for brands like Ford, Ram, and Nissan that rely heavily on truck sales. The freight recession and its ripple effect. Now here's a piece of the puzzle that might not be on everyone's radar: the freight recession. That's right, the trucking industry itself is going through a rough patch, and it's adding fuel to the fire in the truck market. So what exactly is a freight recession? Simply put, there are too many trucks on the road and not enough goods to move. And this isn't a small problem. It's creating ripple effects that go all the way down the line, from truck manufacturers to consumers. During the pandemic, companies like Walmart and Target stocked up on goods, expecting continued demand. But now they're dealing with an inventory overload, and there just isn't enough demand to clear out those products. It's like going on a shopping spree, only to realize you've maxed out your closet space. Now, these big retailers are slowing down their shipments, which means less demand for trucking. And this freight recession has some real consequences. In 2023 alone, a staggering 29,000 trucking companies went out of business. That's like wiping out the economy of a small town. And the trend isn't slowing down. The American Trucking Association reported a 2% drop in their truck tonnage index in March 2024. In the trucking world, that's a big deal. Fewer goods being transported means less revenue for truck companies. And that trickles down to lower demand for new trucks. But here's where it really hits home. With fewer trucks being needed, the demand for new trucks plummets, and that directly affects companies like Ford. The trickle-down effect is clear. Fewer trucks sold means dealerships are left with excess inventory, and that pushes companies to take drastic steps to offload those vehicles. For Ford, that means doubling down on a risky pricing strategy, trying to balance their books even as sales keep dropping. So Ford's pricing hike isn't just a standalone move. It's part of a larger trend affecting the entire industry, where changing consumer habits and economic slowdowns are reshaping the market. But what does this mean for you and me? How does this market shakeup impact everyday consumers? And is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Stay tuned for Part 3, where we break down how Ford's choices and the freight recession are hitting closer to home than you might think. How the freight recession affects your wallet. Let's bring this closer to home. Because the freight recession isn't just a trucking industry issue, it's affecting all of us, even if we don't realize it yet. Picture this. With fewer trucks on the road and shipping demand slowing down, getting products from one place to another is becoming a lot more complex and costly. Those added expenses? They're ending up right where you'd expect them. On price tags. That's right, everything from groceries to electronics might start costing more. Not because the products themselves are more expensive, but because it's costing companies more to transport them. Now think about it. If you're shopping for the best deal on, say, a new couch or a tech gadget, this freight bottleneck could mean you're paying higher prices, even if you're buying online. And let's not forget seasonal shopping, like holidays or back-to-school supplies. Retailers rely on efficient and cost-effective transport, and any hiccup in that process means added costs passed right along to us. And we're just talking about consumer goods. Construction materials, farm products, machinery parts, all the essentials that keep industries running are facing transportation challenges too. For small businesses that rely on these products, the freight recession makes it harder to keep shelves stocked and supply chains moving smoothly. When the cost of transportation rises, businesses have to charge more. And that's how it affects all of us. from your local shops to the biggest stores. Job losses and economic ripples. But here's where things get even more real. The freight recession doesn't just impact prices, it affects jobs. We're talking about thousands of truck drivers, logistics coordinators, warehouse workers, and small business owners whose livelihoods depend on a steady flow of goods. When there's less freight to transport, trucking companies can't afford to keep as many drivers on the road. In 2023 alone, we saw nearly 29,000 trucking companies shut down. For the people who worked at these companies, this isn't just a statistic. It's their income, their career, and in many cases, their way of life. And it doesn't stop at the trucking companies. Remember, each truck company closing down doesn't just affect truckers. Local businesses feel the pinch too, as restaurants, motels, and gas stations along trucking routes lose their regular customers. It's a domino effect that spreads through communities, particularly in rural areas where jobs tied to trucking are often the economic backbone. The shockwave hits harder in small towns, where a single trucking company can employ a big chunk of the local population. These job losses aren't just statistics. They're real people, neighbors, friends, family members, who are suddenly faced with the stress of finding new work. As the job market tightens, communities across the country are feeling the impact of an industry in decline. And if Ford's pricing strategy doesn't pull in the sales they're hoping for, we could see more layoffs and a continued economic downturn in the places that depend on these industries the most. So, what's Ford's next move? Part 4. Ford's pricing strategy, discounts and dilemmas. Ford's double strategy, price hikes with deep discounts. Here's where things get a little tricky. Ford hasn't just raised prices on their 2024 trucks. They're also offering some eye-catching discounts. Now you might be thinking, wait, why hike prices just to offer discounts? And you're not alone. Ford's strategy here is like a puzzle, one that's got both industry experts and customers scratching their heads. It's no secret that Ford's F-Series trucks have a special place in American culture. They're as classic as apple pie, and they're a symbol of rugged reliability. So when Ford announced price increases, it was a bold move that came with a catch: steep discounts. Take the F-150, for instance. Ford has raised the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, across the board, but they're offering discounts that can reach up to $10,000 on select models. For customers, it feels like a roller coaster. One minute, you're staring at a sky-high sticker price, and the next, you're lured back in by the promise of a deal. But what's the logic behind this strategy? Ford might be trying to create a perception of value, playing on the idea that customers are getting a bargain on a high-priced item. It's a psychological play that's been used by retailers forever. Raise the price, offer a discount, and let the customer feel like they're winning. For Ford, it's a way to maintain their premium image without completely alienating budget-conscious buyers. But is it working? Well, some buyers see through it, feeling like the discounts are just smoke and mirrors. Others, especially die-hard Ford fans, might view it as a good deal, taking the discount as a sign of loyalty from Ford to its customer base. But in the end, it's a gamble. And Ford is betting big that this strategy will be enough to keep buyers coming through the doors. The F-150 and Ford's competitive edge. Let's talk about the F-150, the truck that's almost as iconic as Ford itself. This is the model that's been America's best-selling vehicle for years, and Ford's latest moves have made it even more of a headline grabber. The base price of the 2024 F-150 has jumped to levels that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. We're talking about a base model creeping close to $50,000. That's nearly the price of a small house. Raising the price of the F-150 isn't just a sales decision, it's a statement. Ford is essentially telling the market that they believe their trucks are worth a premium, regardless of the current economic climate. They're banking on their brand loyalty, assuming that people will pay more because it's an F-150, a symbol of power, reliability, and the built Ford tough mentality. But here's the twist. Ford's also keeping things competitive by offering those substantial discounts. To Ford, this pricing strategy is a way to adapt to the changing market without compromising their brand. They're hoping the higher sticker price reinforces the F-150 as a premium product, but that the discounts keep it accessible to a wider range of buyers. It's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. But the question is, Will customers go along with it? As Ford raises prices and offers discounts, they're facing an uphill battle. They're not just competing against Ram and Nissan anymore. They're also dealing with Toyota, whose Tundra has been making waves in the truck market. Part 5. The Tundra's winning formula. Toyota's rise amid Ford's struggles. While Ford is raising prices and offering discounts to keep their trucks moving, Toyota has been quietly working on a different strategy with the Tundra. One that's not only keeping it competitive, but actually making it a strong contender in a challenging market. Toyota isn't just riding the wave, they're navigating it with precision. Sales for the Tundra have surged by a staggering 31% in 2024 compared to last year. That's not just growth, it's dominance. And it's clear that Toyota has hit on a winning formula. So what's Toyota's secret? First, they've nailed the balance between premium and practical, offering a truck that packs plenty of power and durability without pushing prices to extremes. The Tundra doesn't carry the same high price tag as Ford's F-150, which is a huge selling point for buyers feeling the pinch of rising costs. Toyota has also rolled out more diverse trim options, giving customers choices that cater to different needs and budgets, from the hard-working base models to the high-end trims with all the bells and whistles. The Tundra's pricing strategy is straightforward but effective. The SR5 trim on the 2024 model, for instance, starts around $58,000, which places it firmly within reach for many buyers looking for a solid, reliable truck without Ford's premium markup. This kind of pricing isn't just a selling point, it's a statement. Toyota is showing buyers that they can get quality and reliability without breaking the bank. But it's not just about price. Toyota's success with the Tundra also comes down to something Ford once mastered: trust and dependability. Toyota has spent years building a reputation for quality, reliability, and low maintenance costs. For buyers who want a truck that will last, Toyota is a name they know they can rely on, and the Tundra is living proof of that. Toyota's marketing power and consumer focus. Toyota's marketing strategy has been nothing short of impressive. Instead of flashy gimmicks or high-stakes discounts, Toyota has focused on a clear message: dependability, performance, and value. Their ads don't just sell trucks, they tell stories. They're aiming at a broad audience, from farmers and contractors to everyday drivers who want a reliable vehicle. Toyota's message is simple but powerful. Get a truck that's built to last, without all the drama and expense. And while other manufacturers are pushing top-of-the-line features and premium trims, Toyota's been clever about positioning the Tundra as a no-nonsense, affordable alternative that still delivers on quality. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, they're perfecting it. This approach resonates with buyers who are tired of the constant price hikes and just want a good truck without the fuss. Toyota is also addressing another key pain point: inventory. Unlike Ford, which has been struggling with oversupply and an abundance of unsold 2023 models, Toyota has taken a more cautious approach. They've worked hard to avoid massive inventory buildups by focusing on balanced production and demand management. You're more likely to find a 2024 Tundra at a dealership than an old model collecting dust. This approach not only makes customers feel like they're getting the latest and greatest, but also keeps Toyota's supply chain moving smoothly.